Hey everyone, welcome to another Webflow workshop. I am your host, Nelson. Thank you for joining me this week. This is episode 149. And today we're doing another community spotlight. And so before I introduce our community member and what we're going to be talking about today, I just want to say hello to everyone who's in the live chat room right now. Thank you all so much for joining me. I love the Webflow community, and so does I see Evan right there. He also loves the Webflow community. We do these streams for you to help you learn some cool new tricks, to converse with you, to answer any questions. Like, yeah, we like to keep it fun, and learning is fun, and learning with the Webflow tool is super fun because it's like a playground. You can finally build things as far as you want, go as crazy as you want on the web, and just have fun on the web. Anyways, if you're new to these streams, this stream happens every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Yeah, you can catch us on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/webflow. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell so you'll know when we go live. Other than that, yeah, let's get to it. Let me show my screen real quick. Yeah, right there. So Joseph Berry has created this cool homepage for Disruptive Social Club. And the reason why it's pretty cool is because check these rollovers out. Bam. That is pretty unique. And, hovers are super simple to do, right? But like when you're doing something else, when you want to take hovers to the next level, there's just so many things you can do with Webflow, and this is just one great example of how you can have like 4 columns, the full height of the browser window, and make each one do something different and go to a different page. It's quite beautiful, and yeah, let's get Joseph on the stream and find out how he did it. There we go. Hey, Joseph.
Hi, Nelson.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks. You?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for being on the stream, and really excited to see what you how you built that homepage. It's really, really quite unique.
No. Obviously, first, thanks for having me on. I've been a long time kind of advocate of Webflow. Wherever I go, whatever company that I've been working in, I've always tried to push Webflow into the systems that we've been working, and yeah, I've had some great opportunities with it. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, not a problem. Now let's learn more about you and how you came into the community. How'd you learn about Webflow? Yeah, so that first question. How did you first learn about Webflow? How did you stumble upon it?
It was actually through a friend of mine that I was working with on the Disruptive Social, actually, Harry, who's the one of the founders there. He introduced it to me some time ago, about 5 years ago. This was back in the day when I used to kind of was hand coding. I used to do a lot of hand coding. I learned
Yeah.
HTML, I learned CSS. I went through the very long-winded process of trying to grasp it and understand it. And then he was like, why don't you try Webflow? And I was so skeptical at first. I was like, no, this can't be possible. This is not
Yeah.
possible. This is not
Yeah.
possible. And slowly but surely, as I started to dive into Webflow a bit more, I was just like, wow, how is this even possible? And
So you went from this is not possible to how is this possible?
exactly that. And I think, that is the actual, kind of gemstone about Webflow is just what it can actually do and what it's capable to do. So, if you can think it, I said this before in my videos, if you can think it, you can do it. And that is kind of what Webflow is about. It's giving people the opportunity to take it to the next level.
That's awesome. And so that whole part where it's you thought, how is this possible? What was that magical aha moment for you with Webflow when you're like, wait, what? How is this possible?
I think for me, it came down really. One was the speed. Two was the pure accuracy that you could get with it. Like if you've come from a very design background led, being able to transition from design into development, but then having that control and just being able to get everything pixel perfect is just like, yeah, this is what I want. And then the kind of icing on the cake is really the interactions, just being able to build stuff and just be like, oh my God, imagine trying to code this stuff. It would just be an
Yeah.
absolute nightmare,
Yeah.
and then three key things for me just was like, I'm done. This is me. Webflow, you are now my tool, and I'm going to use you, and I'm going to see what I can actually do with you. And I've never looked back.
Oh, that is nice. I think a lot of people in the live chat room and in the community resonate with that story. I mean,
Yeah.
once you get that aha moment, it's like, what else can I do? What else can I do? What really? What else? And so it just keeps going and going. And especially with each new feature, have you tried the new grid with the grid auto span and the
Yeah,
auto
so
flow?
I've started to look into, how you can use the grid and the capabilities of it. Again, it's something that the way that I use Webflow, because I use it quite a lot on various different projects, when I get a project that will fit that, I will then
Yeah.
use it, because then I'm really learning with something that's actually either going to go live or being used as a prototype. So it kind of benefits me doing it in the right scenario, if that makes sense.
Yeah. 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 Same thing with me. I haven't played around with Grid
Mm.
2.0 yet because I need to find that project, but I'll probably go on Dribble or something and recreate something when I have time. But
Yeah,
yeah, just always something new to learn. And
yeah,
speaking of something new to learn, the Disruptive homepage, I would love to see, and that's why we're here, to see how you built those hover effects. Now,
yeah.
before you go ahead and share your screen, I want to tell everyone in the live chat room, if you have a question or want me to review a site, please hold off until the end of the stream, to the later part of the stream when we're done with this demo with Joseph, and that's when I'll answer it, and that's when I'll review your sites. So just hold on tight, and let's go ahead and learn from Joseph how he built the Disruptive homepage.
Great. Okay, cool. Let me share my screen.
Mm-hmm.
You might see me and Nelson on there,
There you
which you
go.
will. I'm going to hide this, and
All right.
then we'll start. So I'm just going to move this out of the way so it's not here.
All
Right.
right,
So,
cool.
just as kind of a starting point, so a few little kind of tips and techniques that I use when it goes to building interactions, and I think this is quite important. Obviously, looking at the Disruptive site now. Some key things that I put in practice before I get going is, really having a clear understanding of what you're trying to achieve is really important. So, mapping out things, kind of understanding or sketching out things, finding examples or looking for reference points to really kind of inspire you as per se. So that's kind of really important, and that's kind of how I got to where I got to with the Disruptive site. It was really about knowing where I was going, and if that means taking a step back, so either going into a tool like Photoshop or Sketch, that's really important. And I know Webflow is a tool that you can just jump straight into and design straight in Webflow. But I think if you really do want to achieve something that is slightly above that level, I think having a good outset from the beginning is really crucial. So jumping back into Webflow now, one thing that I'm kind of really kind of keen on, I think, going back from some of my kind of coding experiences, is structure and really understanding structure. And there's a few key things that I always use quite often that have been or enabled me to be able to really create some interesting things, and that's to do with positions, floats, obviously flexbox, overflows and stuff like that. So you'll see some of these techniques being used as we start to go through. So let's get right into it. So to start off with, we will just drop in a div block, and we will call this our main hero parent. Now, something here just to point out, another little tip. So when you're starting to build things, really kind of be aware and conscious of your class names. This is really important for when you start to build out really, really big projects. So you can keep some consistency. So there's one of the guys that did a tutorial on here, he was talking about how you can actually name your divs. So as we called this one main hero parent, and then anything inside of that would be a child and then a grandchild. Again, this just keeps consistency and rhythm with how you're building out things, and it will just help you really kind of build something out that's solid. So this is the main hero to start off with. And then we're going to set this to the width of 100% and then the height to 100%, 100 viewpoint height. We're also going to set this to position relative, and that point we are fine. And what we got to look at here is we've got 4 columns. So we're going to drop in one div. We're going to call this column child. We'll call it cold child. And then what we're going to do is go back to our main hero parent. We're going to select that to flex. And as we can see, we've got the first cold here, but what we want to do is we want to make sure that this expands and grow. And then all we need to do is just Apple C, Apple V to copy once, twice, and 3 times. So now we have our 4 columns, which is great. Now we've got to look at how we do these lines. So simplest way to do this line is let's just make sure that these are all set on position relative, because what we're going to do now is we are going to drop another div inside. We're going to grab this div here and we're going to call this, border line. And then we want to set the width to 1 pixel. And then we're going to set the height to 100%. And at the moment, this is over on the left-hand side. So what we need to do now is, again, going back to what I said about positioning, let's just select this to absolute, and let's then float this to the right. So now we've got our borderline on that side. We also want to go in and we want to change the background color of this. Let's just have a quick look to make sure. There we go. So we've got our first borderline, which is good. And then what we want to do is we just want to go Apple C, Apple V, Apple C, Apple V, go back again. Let's just check. I've accidentally copied one more. So let me just go in here, copy that again, and drop that into the other one. And now we should have the 4 lines, which is good. So we're getting there quite quickly. So we now have our 4 lines. And then what we need to do is we need to look at these 2 divs here. So these are the important divs really, and this is how we really create this effect. So what we're going to do now is we're going to give this a combo class of left, and I'm just going to put hidden, and this will just help you understand why. So we're going to call this left hidden, and what we're going to do is we're going to set this overflow to hidden, and then we're going to go here and we're going to call this right hidden, and again we're going to set the overflow to hidden. So that is quite important, and when we start to drop in our first image, which is this part, as we can see, it's not looking too good and it's not in the right position, as we can see. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that this sits always in the center of that box. So what we're going to use, again, our trusty little friend Flexbox. We're going to make sure that this goes into the center, and then what we're going to do is we're going to make sure it justify to the right. And then all we're going to do here is probably just play around with the sizing a little bit, get it a little bit better, make sure it's sitting right. And again, we're going to get the right side image, and I'll set it on that. We will again resize it. And again, what we will do here is we'll just set it on flex. It's justified on the left to this side, which is fine. And then all we're going to do here is probably just play around with the size a little bit, which is good. So what we need to do now is we need to actually give these images a class. So we're going to call this left side img because it's an image 1. And the reason I'm calling it 1 is because we're going to have multiples of these images in. Now, again, as another little tip when it comes to building out really complex animations, obviously you can select it by element, but depending on what you're animating and how you're animating, sometimes it's good to be able to, animate by a specific element. So that's why sometimes it's good to, you know, class these up by different class names. So then when you go into selecting certain things, you can actually really pick them out. And now we're going to call this right side EMG 1. And then what we can do now is we can start to play around with the position of this, because this image needs to come up a little bit. So we will move it up a bit, just have a little check. It's kind of about right. If we go back and have a look at the example, this one looks a little bit bigger, so I'll just make it a tiny bit bigger. Let's go a little bit bigger, and again, just have to make this a touch bigger, and I'll probably just pull it up a tiny bit more, and we've got our first image in here, which is working fine. So now on to the next bit, which is looking at this shape. Now, the way we're going to get this shape to work, because what we've got to understand here is these are our hover sections, and there's something that we're applying to this to create CSS blend modes. Now, I'll show you how we input that and how that works. But what we need to do is we need to think about the layer. So what we've got here is the main hero parent. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create another div here. And this is going to be a background div to this. So what we're going to do now is we're going to call this, I would call this probably, let's just call this content again, parent, because it is the main parent of that. And what we're going to do with this is we're going to set it to 100% width and 100% viewpoint height. And you're like, oh, what's happened? That's actually pushed that content down. And again, this is where it comes to working out positions, and we're going to get back into the position, and we're going to change this to absolute. Boom. Our content is now back where it should be. And what we need to do again here is just check the Z index of this, and what I would probably do is just drop this to 0. So it's actually behind this content. And the reason this is so we can activate the hovers, because these are the main areas that we're going to be hovering with. So if that layer was actually above this, we wouldn't be able to hover the individual sections. And that is key to understanding why we had to break this down into two kind of layers as a saying. So now we've got that. Again, we're going to set this to flex. We're going to put it center. And what we're going to do is we're going to get our first image here, and we're going to drop it in, and we're going to go set it to HTTP, and I'll probably just bring it up a bit. And at the moment, you're probably looking at it and thinking, it looks a bit wonky. It doesn't look right. Let's just make sure. Yep. As you can see, it's clear in the center there. It's all starting to shape up quite nicely. We're building this out quite well. And again, we want to give this a name. So let's call this image X. Keep it nice and simple. This is in the middle. Now we're going to look at how we can make this blend mode before we start to get onto animations. So actually, Nelson showed me this little cool trick. So again, thanks, Nelson. He is the man that knows every little detail about Webflow. So you're always constantly learning. So, you know, again, with the embed, I didn't really know this. So what we're going to do is we're going to drop an embed in, and what we need to do is target these two images here to create the blend mode. Here I've got the CSS that will actually do that. So I'm going to drop this in. We're going to do style, close bracket, style, and then we're going to drop this code in. Make sure that it is the same. So let's just try. So we've changed it. So I'm going to call it image side. No, sorry, get me right. Left side image, side image 1, and right side image 1. Now, all we're doing here, just to kind of let people understand, is all we're doing is we're targeting the CSS, what we've created here. And again, goes back to the principle of really understanding what your classes are and where you're going with this. It will help you kind of target things, especially if you're starting to inject code into the page. Now, hopefully, yes, and it has worked. And now we have got that blend mode, which is basically a multiplier. So it's the same thing that you do in Photoshop. So now we've got that, we're kind of really starting to get somewhere now. And I think the next thing would be to kind of look at the buttons. And what we're going to do now is we're going to drop in a div block. Now, what I like to do, and I'm going to kind of show you an effect that I use quite often. Let's get this, and we're going to call this BTN for button, and we're going to call it parent, you would have guessed. And what we're going to do with this now.
Would this be a div block, or would it be a link block?
I mean, you could do it as a link block, but I was going to just drop a text link in there as well.
Oh, okay. Carry on. I was just wondering.
No, I mean, let's do that. Let's do that. Sorry. So let's drop a link block in, and we're going to call this link parent. And then what we need to do with this is we are going to set this to absolute, and just make sure that we're on relative, which is good. We are. So get the link parent, and all we're going to do is we're just going to drop this to the bottom. We're going to move this to the bottom, and then what we can do now is we can drop in the text. I'll just drop the text in, and here we go. We have the text, and we'll just what we got here. So we've got and then we've got the text block in here, and then what we need to do is center align this. And then one other thing we're going to do with this link parent is, again, we're going to use overflow hidden, and that's for something later. If we get to that stage, hopefully we can, and I'll show you something that we can do with this. So we're going to get this link parent, and then all we're going to do is literally just position it. I don't know, probably let's say 6%, and then with the text block, let's just make it a tiny bit bigger. Again, we've got to make sure we sort the line height out, because we've set that previous div to overflow hidden. If the line height isn't the same, or it gets smaller, it will actually click that text, and that's to do with an interaction that we might create later. And then we're going to just basically copy and paste this into the 4 panels. And now we have our 4 links. So into the interaction part. Now we're going to click our first section. So this is the first hover of this part, and we're going to go into our element. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a mouse over. And again, a little bit of housekeeping here. Make sure that you name these nicely. So when you start to build out lots of complex animations, it can really start to get confusing with what's going on. So it's kind of important that you have this in place. So we're going to call this section 1 roll over. So we've got that nice. And then what we're going to start to do is look at the first part of this. So we're going to select the left side image. And what we're going to do is we're going to move this. We want to make sure that it's set to the initial state. And all we're going to do is hide this. So now this will start to make sense to you of why we've set this to overflow hidden. And all we're doing is just hiding these elements behind these divs. Again, I've used % here, and now this is a really nice approach if you really want to hide things completely off to the precise amount. And there's valid reasons why you would use % instead of pixels. This is not the case for everything, and it's kind of a case of you playing around and working out what the best solution is for you. But as a rule of thumb, use % if you're moving things around, because that will give you a true representation of where that is and how that moves off the page. And then as our end, we're going to move again, and it's pretty simple. All we're going to do is just put 0%, and now we've brought that out. Now getting into the easing options that we have here, and there is some great easing options here. There's loads and loads of really good ones. And with building out animations, it's a real case of trial and error in how you build this out. So it's not just as simple as, click it and then select a time. You've got to really play around with these, because the timing is really crucial to the easing option of what you're selecting. So really look at the timings and play around with it. Try slower, try faster, maybe try a combination, and you'll see a combination on the exit when we get there. So for this is a really nice one that I like, and it's in, out, Sorok or Sarik. And we're just going to set that to 0.6, and then let's just see how that goes. And you see that's kind of like really springs out, and it's got a nice bit of energy to it. And again, this is why it's really crucial that you guys play around with these different these different kind of animation types, because you can really change a feel of an interaction or a movement through that. And it's just a case of playing around. And then we're going to go to the right side, and we're going to go move. And you would have missed. We're going to go the opposite direction, so it's minus 100%. And then we're going to go over to the right, and we're going to select 0%. We're going to do the same. Now this is where it starts to get a little bit quicker, because we know where we're going now. We know what we're doing. Again, 0.6. Test it out. Oh, we're getting there already, and it's not taking us that long. What we need to do now is, because this layer's behind, it's going to be difficult for me to select this layer. So I need to go into the layers panel. I need to get the X. I'm going to go back to the animations. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at the scale. We're going to set the scale to 0. And then on the out of that, we're going to go back to scale. And it's going to be on 1. And again, we're going to keep this consistent with what we had before. So it's going to be Surak. It's going to be 0.6. And then as we start to see, we're already getting there quite nicely. And it's coming around quite quickly. And there's one other thing now. So I'm going to do a combination of animation pools on this. So I'm actually going to do an opacity on this. And I'm going to bring the opacity down. And again, opacity on this, and we're going to do it on an ease, because I quite like ease, and I think it works quite nice with, especially when you're working with opacities. We're going to 0.4, not as quick, and let's just see how that works. So that works. We might just slow it down a touch. And the reason I did the opacity is that when we start to change between them, you get a slightly different movement, so it doesn't feel so static. So you get a little bit of staggering because of the opacity on this shape. It creates a really nice kind of in and out movement. So again, that's kind of working with different kind of animations. So we've got that. And what I'm going to do is just to make sure that it works. We're on, obviously we haven't done the out interaction. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to go on to the out, start. We're just going to duplicate this, select, we're going to go in, we're going to change the name, make sure you change the name, and we're just going to call this roll out, because we're rolling out. So these are all of our start positions. So a simple thing to remember when we're doing rollovers is all we need to do pretty much is just delete these, change all of these off to set initial state, and then what we need to do is we need to go in, we need to change the animation type to where we was originally. So we go to Surak, change to 0.6, and now we've got to do the opacity. So we go into opacity, change it to ease, knock it down to 5, and fingers crossed, we should be there.
Nice.
So we are pretty much there for that first interaction. And as you can see, what might have seemed quite complex, actually, it's quite easy to do. Yeah. And that is what is so great about Webflow. Some people would have been looking at that thinking, how is that done? And it's just about having that direction to start off with to get to that point. And we've got there really quickly. So I think what we'll do is, should we build out the second rollover so we can kind of go through that process again?
Yeah.
Let's
learn.
So let's go through again. And let's have a look at what our next one is. So it's the spanner. So let's find the spanner. So we're going to drop the spanner in here. We're going to drop it down. Again, we need to resize it a touch. Let's go to the 70. I always like to work with even numbers as well. So there's a kind of a design principle that we use on big design systems, and it's called a baseline grid. And it's really kind of key and it's actually something that you've introduced, which I really like. So a baseline grid is to do with spacing metrics, and this comes down to when you're passing over to development, and it's kind of having a consistent spacing. So some people may have heard of a 4-point baseline grid or a 5-point baseline grid, and that means every element is a multiple of that. So if I'm doing padding, it's either 4 or 5 pixels, 10, 15, 20, 25. And you've actually started to introduce this here. So this is key principles of keeping consistency between design elements and how you build out elements, so they feel consistent. The flow of the page feels consistent. And that's, again, a really nice principle to start thinking about when you're building out things. Get that in place, and it will bring your design forward a lot. So let's get back to where we was. So we got this left side image one, and we need to call this left side image 2. And pretty much we want to do the same thing. So we want to set this to, did I set it? Absolute. I didn't. This was done on, I believe this is done 2 seconds. I'm just regrouping on there. Okay. So yeah, that was actually done to that. And then I do believe, so I do need to set that to absolute. Now, I probably should have set this to absolute at the beginning, but it's not to worry. So we're going to do it on the number 2. And that is so that this image actually sits in the same position as the other one, because this wasn't set to absolute. Again, we should have selected that to absolute, so they all go into that space. And that's because if it's set to relative, it would be relative to the position of the element. And obviously the element, which is the left side image, which is causing that other one to push out. So that is why we need to set that to absolute, and that will now fall straight into place. So we've got that, and then we want to kind of drop in our other side. Again, we'll bring this down, probably, I don't know, I think it was on 70, wasn't it? So we'll go like that, and then we want to do right side ing2, and again set this to absolute, and boom, we're in there. So that's in that position. Now there may be a scenario. No, there's no scenario. That's fine. It's just me thinking out loud. So now what we can do is we probably just, again, just this position of this, because what we've got is this kind of this staggered thing, and it kind of goes to what the brand was about. It was about being disruptive, and it was about that kind of juxtaposition of elements to really make things kind of feel unawkward, but still worked really well, and it got across the message what it was trying to describe in that sense. So we've got the 2 images, they're now in place, and what we need to do now is, let's not forget where we went into the embed. So let's open this up, let's copy this, and let's just change that to number 2. Again, keeping that consistency really speeds you up later down the process. So now we've just got, and we're in, and we've changed, and we've got that sorted. So now we're going to go in and we're going to drop our next shape in, which is the square, and we're going to go into our content parent where we've got the square, and again we're like, whoa, what's going on here? I think we might need to change the position of this, change the size of this first. Again, just as a rule of thumb, this is just for example purposes, but try and bring these in in double resolution, so that they're retina ready when they go onto mobile screens. Again, you might come into some instances where images might be really large, so always look at the file size, check the file size of the images, make sure they're not too large, And if they are too large, use a third-party kind of file compression. If you're converting from PNG, just type in PNG compression, and there'll be an online tool that you can literally just dump your images in. They will compress them down, and they will make sure that your site, is kind of loading up quickly. I'm sure people would have come across where they're, dumping really big images into their site, and they're like, why is my site loading so slow, or things like that. So just think about the image size and do that so it works well. And again, what we've got to do here is give it a class, and I'll just call it S for square. And then you would have guessed it, absolute. And we're now in position. Again, we probably could have set the X to absolute. I don't know if I did. No, I didn't. But that's why that you need to set that to absolute, so it fits into that middle area. Again, having a play around with positions can really help you understand how you can really move elements around without using things like margins and paddings. So some people might have started to play around with them, and that's probably not best practice. And always think about position, because position really can determine where things sit on the page. Right, so going into how we get this to do the next bit, and we're going to be pretty simple. So we're going to select this next section, and then we're going to go in and we're going to create another hover, and we're going to go start animation. And because we've already built these out, what we're going to do now is we're going to duplicate this, and select this, and then what we're going to start to do is retarget these images. So we're going to change target, boom, change target, boom, the image X. So again, we're going to have to change target, but we're going to have to go in here because we can't select that from that panel because we've got that other layer on top. So we need to change that. We need to change this one as well. And what we need to do is go in again. So this is, and we change that. And we should be, we need to change these as well. So let's change the target. And again, we've got to go in here and we're going to have to change them like this, because they're not poking out, and that's probably because the interaction is set on these elements. So it's bringing out the old elements from that previous animation that we've created. So again, this is where you kind of have to flick between the layers, and sometimes if you can see the elements, then bringing them elements to the front. And then we're just going to quickly change these and change this one.
Nice.
And let's just make sure that's working. And you're thinking, oh, the other ones are still showing. What's going on? Let's just check. Right, okay, that's cool.
Nice.
Obviously, we've done the rollover. So let's go back into that. Select this, start animation. And we've got the out, duplicate, select. And then we're just going to do exactly the same. Change the target of that. Change the target of that. Change the target again. I'm just going to go in here, select the square. And again, change the target here. Square. And hopefully, there we go.
Nice.
So
simple.
It's exactly. And
simple.
It's simple. It's very simple.
Yeah.
It's there is a little bit of work that took me to get there. Over time, as you guys get to grips with, as I said, these positions, floats, flexbox, understanding overflows, it will come. And then when it starts to come, you can just start to think about something. And as long as you have that plan in front of you, you can execute it. You can really, really execute it with quite ease. So, that's where we are for this. If you want me to continue, I can show you how I put together some of the load interactions.
Yeah. Let's do a bonus tutorial on. So I notice if you go to the live site and refresh it, you do a thing where you have a couple of loading interactions.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be cool bonus to show off how you've built those.
A Brucey bonus, as we say over here.
Brucey.
that's an English joke.
Well, today I've learned that and spanner. I Googled it actually, and I was like, oh, so that's what you call a wrench.
Yeah, we call it a spanner. So yeah, great. Everyone's learning. Everyone's learning all sorts of things. So we're learning. It's all
Yeah.
good. It's all good, people. All good. Right. So let's get into the
Page
intro. Loading animations.
Yeah.
So obviously, if we look at this, we've got a few things timed here. We've got what are the lines. We've got elements revealing themselves. We've got a few other things going on here. So let's kind of get into that. What we're going to do is we're going to go back into our layers panel. We're going to start to build out these elements here. So we've got 3 elements that are in the middle. So we're going to drop the logo in straight away. Boom. Whoa, we're like, whoa, what's going on here?
Yeah.
This isn't right. We're getting a bit crazy. Try not to panic. Let's just size it first. And you know, we could give this a class. I mean, you don't have to.
It's
But
kind of
again,
like Bob Ross, where it's kind of like Bob Ross when he starts to paint something over something, and you're like, what has he done? He's ruined the painting, and the next thing you know, as he finesses it, it's like, oh, it all makes sense.
And guys, you would have guessed it again. What are we going to do? We're going to change the position, and then here we're straight back in the middle, and that's where we wanted to be. And we just size this out a little bit. Just have a little butchers. Looks okay. I think there may be something I need to look at, and that is if we look at what we've got going on here, we're like, this is over the top. So what we need to do is we need to look at, again, this is why we set the position. So if we just bring the Z index up to like, I don't know, 3, boom, we're now above that element, which is where we wanted to be, because before we was below. So that's great. We've got that above. We're looking good. We're on our way. So what I'm going to do here is we've got this logo. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drop a div in here, and I'm going to put this logo inside of this div. And actually, we've done this slightly the wrong way, and forgive me on that. That was my wrongdoing. What we're going to do is we're going to remove the position of this just for the moment. So just to reset this, and then we're actually going to go back to this div. We're going to call this text hide. And the reason we're going to call this text hide is because we're going to set the overflow to hidden, and this will help us when we go to create that that reveal animation. And it's kind of one of my favorite animations. I do it quite a lot. And then we're going to set this to absolute, and then we're back in the middle. And then we've got our logo inside. So, and then what we're going to do again is we're going to create another one, which should be. No, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just leave this, and I'm going to do just that animation there, and then I can get through this a little bit quicker because I'm just conscious that we might be taking up a bit too much time. So what we're going to do for the moment is just to show you how we get the logo to come out of that element, and again how we get these to come out of this element. So let's go into the animation. I'm going to select the body because we are on the body of that interaction. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go page trigger. I'm going to do page load. Now, there's quite an interesting thing here. And when I mentioned this to Nelson, he really liked the explanation of this. But we have when page starts loading and when page finish loading. Now, this is really, really important, especially when we start to animate lots and lots of elements. Also, we have to think about the elements that are inside of that page and how that could potentially slow down your animation. So it's really important that we do when page finish loading, because what happens is the page will load, it will load all of your assets, and then it will fire that animation, which then helps us to make sure that when it loads, the animation is not jittery. And I'm sure you probably come across it and you're like, why is this lagging, or why is this slow? And if you start adding in video and stuff like that, it's going to get really messy. So this is really important. Make sure we do it when page finish loading. Right. So we're in, and then we want to create, and we're going to call this let's call this home intro load. And then it's as simple as The first element that we're going to animate is this line, so borderline. So we're going to start, we're going to do size, we're going to set the height. Oh, that's popped up. Go away. Oh, I knew that was going to happen. Let's just move this over here, sorry. We're going to set the height to 0%. And then we're going to set this to the start point, because that is where we want it to start. And then we're going to go in, we're going to go size, we're going to go height, we're going to go 100%. That's now going to bring that down. We're going to set this to, I'm going to go back to where he was. We're going to go our nice little Sirach. Put this to 6. I think what we're going to do is just slightly delay it. We don't want it to happen straight away. So sometimes when I'm doing page animations, I like kind of delay them before the page kind of loads, so that it gives it a little bit of time for the user to see it. Because again, if you do it straight away as it loads, it might miss, especially when we've got something, really like really fine there. It's just, you could miss it quite easily.
Yeah.
So that's borderline 1. Borderline 2. We're going to do the same size. We're going to do height 0%. We're going to go in here. We're going to do size. We're going to do height 100%. We're going to do it 2.4. We're going to slightly stagger that again.
Okay.
We're going to go into Sirach. We're going to do it Sirach, or whatever you want to call it. And then we're going to do 6 again, 0.6. We'll go here. We're going to select the size again. All right, 0%. You kind of get it now. It gets a little bit repetitive, but it's pretty straightforward again. And we'll just go 100%, and we will change to Zurich, and we will change this to 6 and 6. So now we're starting to get that. Boom, boom, boom. Right,
Nice.
we've got them 3. That's all good. And then let's go to the logo. So while we did the text hide, we're going to grab that logo. We're going to go here. We're going to move. This is where we start to get that grasp of why we start to do overflow hidden. Because if I just bring that down by 100%, it is now hidden that image, which will create our lovely reveal interaction. And again, we just go move. And we do the Sirach again, and we do 6. Again, we just want to time this away. Like each one is slow millisecond away. I want to make sure that this is on 0%. And again, I did this on percent again, because as soon as I hit 100%, you notice how it brings it exactly to the bottom of that element that we have placed it inside. And again, that is where sometimes you might want to use percent, sometimes you might not, but percent for me is always a good starting point. And then we want to go onto these elements. You would have guessed it, it's pretty much the same. We just go in, we bring this down 100%. We're going to go move, bring it up 0%. I'm going to get it on that. Change this to 1 second now. 6, and then
rinse and repeat.
And rinse and repeat. So let's just look where we are. Right, so we see that you can just see the start of that top of the image. Just the start. We're starting to see that a little bit. So, easiest way would be just to drop it down a touch. You could just do that. Just do that, and then we're there. Do I need to run through? Should we just see these last ones come together so we can see it as a final piece?
Sure, go for it.
Yeah.
Let's see it finished. Let's see it through.
I'm gonna speed it up now, so I'm just gonna go through this quite quickly now. So 100%. Yeah.
While he's working, everyone go ahead and start posting any questions you have for Joseph, or any questions about Webflow, or even links to projects that you're working on. Because we're gonna go to the second half, the second part of this stream to go over your questions and review your projects. But yeah, this is it shows how easy it is to build something in Webflow, and I think that's what web design should be. The hardest part about building for the web shouldn't be the building part. It should be the concept. thinking about a great concept, kind of like the disrupt, where images are not aligned perfectly and they're in different shapes or different sizes. That shows off that reiterates the name of the brand, and reiterates the logo type, and so that's what caught me. That's what caught my attention with the Disruptive Social website. It's just so nice, and then adding the interactions like Joseph did, it was super simple. But of course, to get to simple, it takes a while to get that concept just right and the animations just right. But with Webflow, you can reiterate super fast. Whoa, you're already done.
I'm done. No messing around.
1, 2, there it is.
There it is. And we've created that pretty straightforwardly. It didn't take too much time.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're there, man. We're there.
That is awesome. Yeah. Michael's asking, can we get the code for the CSS multiply, the blend? Yeah, you can Joseph, can you post it on the forum post?
I'll drop it into the Webflow group or
both of the Facebook group, the forum. You can drop it after this stream. You can drop it in there.
Yeah, I mean, what I could do, what I'll do is I could just leave it in the YouTube comments and stuff like that, or whatever. We'll do it. We'll find it. We'll drop it somewhere for the guys. It's no problem.
Yeah, cool. Susan is asking, can you share the project? Are you allowed to? Because I know this is someone else's brand.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, I won't be able to share it. But what I'm planning to do now that I've kind of introduced myself to you guys at Webflow and also a lot of the community on the group, I'm really going to start to share with you a lot of my stuff in terms of I might do a library of some of my favorite interactions. I might start building out some kind of really kind of quick design ideas and templates that you guys can just play around with, have a look at. I'm also going to start to create some more video tutorials. If people are interested in hearing more from myself, then I'd really like to progress with kind of giving the Webflow gang, as you like, some more little nuggets of knowledge. And yeah, that's where we're going to go, I think.
Nice. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing with the community. Can you go ahead and stop sharing your screen real quick? Yeah. Susan is also asking, can we talk about how Joseph makes the nav item text mix up on Rollup? And I think that's custom code.
Yeah, so that was imported in with JS. And again, another question that people have been asking is how have I done that and where have I got that from? So I use relatively other code tools. So CodePen is a really good tool to use, and there's a lot of good code snippets in there that you can take. Again, this does require you to have a fair amount of knowledge and understanding how to connect certain things up by classes and looking at JS, and it's a little bit more involved. You're going to need to spend a bit of time working out how that works, because again, with CodePen, it doesn't give you a tutorial on how to use it. It's just literally showing you what it does and giving you the code snippet to be able to do that. So that was done through JS.
Okay, cool. I'm getting some, let's see here. Okay, so I'm seeing some links in the live chat room right now. Danny, we're only looking at Webflow sites. I see the one that you linked is actually not built in Webflow. So if you can only put the webflow.io link, that'd be cool. Now this second part's up to you. If you want to stay for site reviews, if you have time. Yeah, you don't mind?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's get into the next part. Where's my browser? Where is it? Oops, I have myself twice. There we go. All right, so that's the disruptive site. All right, thank you so much for staying on the stream and doing this part. Let's go to Jader. Do you see the chat room, Joseph? So the first one I'm looking at is the students dash living. Um, if in the YouTube chat room, if you, oh yeah, he is, and there's a bunch of links. Whoa. Oh wait, they don't hear you. I need to add your audio. Hold on. Sorry everyone. Okay, we can do that. Let me copy.
You scroll. Okay.
Cool. All right. I mean, you can get the link yourself from the YouTube chat room. Was what I'm saying.
Yeah, I've got you. I've got you up on YouTube now, so I'm just kind of looking at what you're doing. Unless
Okay.
I'm lagging.
There'll be like a 30-second delay though.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Okay.
So
But I'll just go through the students living, and it's up to you if you want to go through it yourself as well. But I'm looking at the site right now. Okay, so we have background video. This part right here, some things aren't too good to be true. I feel like that needs to come up a bit as far as font size. It seems like a footnote rather than it seems like a footnote rather than something should really read. Let's see here. Your logo, I guess you're still waiting. All right, cool. I like the hovers on the nav. What are you looking for? Okay, let's see here. If you can move this drop down a little bit to the left so it's aligned with this part, that'd be good. But I like this call to action. Immediately, you're asking, what are you looking for? Exactly. I like that. All right, let's move down. Got some scroll into view interactions. I wonder, is this Grid? Are you playing around with Grid? Who's this? Who's Jader? I think this is Jader, right? Let me scroll up. Yeah, Jader, are you playing with Grid? If so, love it. Love it. This is a great instance of Grid if you're doing overlapping stuff. Grid makes overlapping so much easier. I would suggest a lot more white space between your sections because it just feels like you're going straight into the next section.
Sorry to cut you up, mate. Can I get, what's the link of this?
So it's students-living.webflow.io, and you can see it in the YouTube live chat room.
Webflow.io.
And okay, there's a video.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I like
was
it.
Was this from a? Oh, you got some overflow horizontal. If this is from a template, I like what you're doing with it. Just make sure you tighten it up a bit as far as your overflows, making sure you not really tighten it up or loosen it up when it comes to white space.
Yeah.
Like, see, if you look at your book of tour, look at all the white space right here compared to the top of this section right here. Not so they're not the same.
I think that goes back to the point that I made earlier about consistent spacing and how you keep that throughout your design. And that really help you kind of have that consistency. And, you know, as a rule of thumb, what I always try and teach any junior designers is the top and the bottom should be equal spacing unless it is made for a design decision.
Yep. Good point. What again with the equal spacing, if you look at this form right here, this top is shorter than this bottom margin. I think the easiest way to do the fix this is with Flexbox and just center the form, center it vertically. Flexbox makes that so much easier. Watch out for your checkboxes, the base or the top part right here, and then the type. They're not really at the same unless that's a design choice. Then that's fine. Other than that, good job. All right, let's go to the do you have any other thoughts about this?
Me?
Yeah. Joseph, yeah.
No, I mean, from what I can see, it looks good. I think, I think there's just some things that I would look at with me with consistency of type. So make sure that we're trying not to create too many different type styles. And again, just looking at the sizes of them and how you keep consistency. So really think about that consistency on them typefaces, because there's a lot of different styles. We've got caps, lowercase, italics, we've got sans serif, we've got serif. That would probably be my only thing. And then back to the spacing, I think, the spacing, needs a little looking at. Just make sure that, things are, correct spacing and the alignment's right. But yeah, no, it looks good from my point of view.
Cool. All right, thanks. Let's go to the next one. Okay, Jada, we're skipping the home remodeling since we've already reviewed this site for you. Sebastian, that's not a Webflow.io link, but let me double check to see if it's made in Webflow. And I've seen this before. Yes. Was this made in Webflow? Yes, it was. Cool. Let me put it on the stream. It's I'm saying it wrong. VOILOKA.com. It's by Sebastian.
.com.
Yeah, Lift eFoil. VOILOKA.
Yeah. It's got surfing dudes.
Yeah. I've already reviewed this last time. I don't know what else I've said about it. Yeah. I mean, not really going to go through it again because I don't know what I've said before, but I know I've already reviewed this, so let's see here. What did I say about this before? But I mean, do you have any thoughts on this one?
Again, for me, it's for a lot of what I see, and I guess this is, just kind of some of the key principles. And I'm not telling people how to suck eggs or anything, but there's a few building blocks that people really need to pay attention to, and it's really, really crucial that you use these to the best of your ability. One is obviously typography and how you use typography, font pairings, the size, the consistency. Then you want to look at imagery, image tonality, how that sits. And I think, the image tonality is really good. I think it's working really well. The colors, again, the color palettes you choose can really kind of set a mood and how that works. And then obviously going on to Whitespace. So making sure things are consistent and looking at the white space and how you can create visible space with Whitespace, if that makes sense. Yeah. And I think if you really focus on these building blocks as your key principles, really pay attention to this. If you find it inspiration and go and look on, some of, AAW awards and if you look of how the sites have been put together, there's that consistency, and consistency will always win for the higher level. And if you use them building blocks, which there is some really nice elements to this site, which have definitely got that in place. And it's really just that fine tuning and really crafting that is the difficult bit. And that is the bit that's taken years and years to get to the level where it is. But if you use them as the base and really perfect them, you'll make great websites. You honestly will. And it's kind of as simple as that, but not as simple as that, if it makes sense. But apart from that, the site looks good. I really like it. I think it feels really kind of warm and friendly. The iconography is great. I think the iconography is really nice. If you've done them yourself, really nice job on them. That iconography, I think it rips really, really well. And apart from that, color palette's great. Imagery is good. And again, it would just be small things for me. It would be picking out font sizes, spacing, and maybe looking at that navigation, because it feels a little bit cluttered up there for me for the right, because you've got like a double navigation. But that may be me. It's again, design is preference. And everyone can have an opinion on something. Some might like it, some might not, but that's how it is. But from my point of view, it's good.
Cool. All right. Let's get 3. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3. Okay, these last 4. Okay, so Sandre is doing Opdaget. I'm not sure.
How do we spell that?
It's oppdaget.webflow.io.
OPP
DAGET.
DAGET.
I like this. Yep, .webflow.io. And I like this. I like this first imagery. That's cool. I like the dots.
Color palette's nice. Again,
yeah,
it's very fresh. Kind of feels like the kind of principles to Google's design system that they've created.
Yeah.
It's kind of very. This feels like I don't know if it's right, but to me it feels like it's something to do with an app. But maybe I'm totally wrong. Just because it's got that feel for me. But I presume that this is a business that is doing web design, or is this something else?
I'm
It's
not
in a different language, so
sure.
I can't read any of it.
Yeah, I don't like to translate because use Google Translate because like I just want to see the original design with the original text and everything. But
I'm really liking the interactions. I think there's some nice interactions here. I think they're really smooth, really well done. I like the depth of the page as well. I think that the depth of the design is really nice. Spacing is pretty good. I really like some of the UI elements. I think the finesse of the UI elements is really nice. As I said, it's got that kind of appy feel. Just because you've used the rounded corners, again with these kind of fuchsia colors, really kind of poppy techie colors. Again, from experience of looking at a lot of kind of tech brands and kind of applications and products, they're kind of really based on this kind of vibe. I think it's a really good effort. Again,
there's a section with 4 cards. And I thought it was an image at first, but then I was like, wait a minute, hold on, let me highlight the text. It's live text.
Which is brilliant.
It's real stuff. And I'm like, is this grid? I love it. This is what grid can do.
Yeah, that is definitely smart. Definitely smart. Really like that.
Nice. Yeah. I have no words for this. It just, to me, great job. I got nothing.
Yeah, no, great. I mean, for me as well,
Sandra.
I think visually it works. I think, the typography is set very nicely. I would make micro changes to this, which would be like little spacing things. Where you got the blue bar, the blue bar with the 4 different things.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
If you look again, back to my principle, top and bottom, the bottom is bigger than the top.
Yeah.
So again, that would be me. That would be like literally me. And again, there'd just be like some little spacing things that I would make. But again, that principle is really important. Is the top the same as the bottom? And again, it will just really make sure that everything looks right and keep things consistent. But yeah, no, that's a good effort, that one. Definitely.
Yeah. All right. Great job, Sandre. Moving on to Cameron Isherwood. Call me Ish. Okay, Ish. All right. It seems like a portfolio site. So when it comes to portfolio sites, what do I always say? Start with the story. And immediately I see a story coming together. I'm a maker of many things. Most importantly, value. Let's work together to create more.
Ish.
Ishwood. Cameron Ishwood.webflow.io.
Cameron. Is it Ish or one?
Ishwood. Oh, sorry. Isherwood.
Cameron.
ISHERWOOD.webflow.io. So as I'm scroll.
No, Cameron.
Here, let me put it in the chat.
What on the on?
There you go.
Right. Beautiful. Yeah, just do that. It saves us.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. All right. So my first scroll down. There should be some spacing or some sort of separator between your SVG background and the content. I think the content needs some sort of header to explain what these 4 boxes are, and I'm guessing these are going to be your pieces of work. So you might want to put like some sort of H2 heading to saying like projects, past projects, or something like that, client work. And yeah, so it seems like a work in progress still, but keep it up. Come back next week to show me what kind of progress you've made. Also, yeah, yeah. When this is more fleshed out with your projects, yeah, come back. Cause yeah, I'm not sure. I don't want to give you too many notes. When you're still working on it. Yeah. So, your thoughts, Joseph?
Yeah, I would say the same. I think, just pay attention to them kind of points that I made on them, them 4 building blocks with typography and stuff like that. And, I think you can definitely push this forward. But yeah, I don't think it's ready to make any kind of feedback on it at this stage.
Okay. All right. Going to Michael's project, sdgg.webflow.io. I think that's easy enough for you to type.
No, drop it in the chat.
Okay. I'll drop it there.
Just makes my life a lot easier.
Why type when you can click? All right. Okay. Interesting.
Oh, I like the design of this. This is very
this is different.
Brutalism design.
Yeah.
It's interesting for sure. For sure.
He uses page transitions.
Yeah, it does.
Click on one.
Yeah.
Nice.
Pretty nice. Yeah, like that.
Yeah,
it's very different.
Yeah.
And as I said, it's got that brutalism feel. Some nice little nice interactions on it.
Yeah, I'm just going through each page, and yeah, it's brutalism, but not too much.
Yeah. I guess I think the only thing for me would come down to the color palette. I'm just finding it in places a little inconsistent, just because you've got really like fuchsia pinks, and then you've got like some more kind of not pastel, but you've got a more dulled down like a pinky color, and that blue. Like, I think getting that color palette right will definitely seal this. I'm just feeling like there's lots of different colors going over, and I know they represent each area, but that might be just something to think about. I really like it. I think it's super unusual, in a good way, obviously.
Yeah.
Typography works well. I'm not sure the purpose of the site. So, because for me at the moment, everything feels quite linear in terms of everything being quite, single columned, the text, and it's very text heavy. But it might be that this is an information based website, and again, because it's in different language, I can't really interpret what that is. So yeah, for me, it would only be, again, just, I don't know, again, it's personal preference, but look at the color palette would be just maybe one option. Play around with that. You may like it. Other people may like it. It just, again, it's my preference. And yeah, if it can include a little bit more visual, I think you could do some really interesting stuff with, there's areas here where he's got the text kind of typing out. I really like that. I think you could bring, maybe some more moving elements in here. So look at maybe, kind of text scrolling along the page. Again, bringing in some animations to do with the text interacting. If there's opportunities to bring in some imagery, look at how you could, bring in imagery. The imagery could be black and white, and it could have a filter of one of the colors over it. Again, we've got black and white. Oh, I really like there's a really nice section on here where we've got members, and you've got the tabs area. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, I see it. One thing you might want to catch is who did this? Michael. Make sure that your hover effects on your tab links. I think the text is going to white, so you might want to fix that. But I think it's still a work in progress. As you can tell, that some members don't even have a photo. So, but overall, it's really good.
It's definitely a very interesting concept. And I think there's some really nice things that you could do with this. So yeah, good. Again, really good effort. It's again, I really like the design approach to it. And yeah, good work.
Cool. Great job. And it's kind of Michael's saying it's e-commerce, so if you click on the blue typing text,
Right.
it's actually e-commerce. So good job.
Yeah, nice.
All right.
Yeah, I guess the only one other thing that I would say is about the navigation and the way that it sits and
Yeah.
how it's very deep on the page. I guess that's not a
Yeah.
massive problem, but you could do something quite nice with that. You could do a scroll interaction that when you scroll, that actually kind of moves over to the side. So you kind of expand that
Yeah.
screen space. You get what I'm saying? So it
Yeah.
starts off so it's full here. You scroll down and all of them text links move over to the left, and it sits in that space where you've got actually a nice space for it to sit in that left hand side, because you've got because it's kind of a fixed width inside of where all the content sits. You know, that could be quite nice. Again, just kind of bringing something a little bit more lively to that could work. You know, just a suggestion. Again, thinking about how you can bring a little bit more life and a little bit more of a creative flair to this.
Yeah.
That's
All
it.
right. Great job. Great job, Michael.
Nice.
Okay, last two, Eli and Marius. All right, so Eli is Doppels. All right.
Link.
Yes. Also, oh,
Link.
I've seen this before. Okay, we're back on it. This one's already launched, right? I've reviewed this a long time ago. But let's see if there's anything new. Let's see here. Click and wish. He has micro interactions. Click on the star. That's cute.
Oh, juicy. I like that. That's
Oh,
lovely.
yes.
Yeah,
I'm gonna click it
that
multiple
must be
times.
that must be an import CSS on there.
Yeah.
Looks like something. Let me have a little look. We're not on the inspect.
That's custom. That has to be custom code.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if that's. I mean, yeah, you could build it, but yeah, I think it is. Looks like it could be SVG, some SVG kind of wizardry going on there.
Okay, he added some page transition too.
Let's have a look. What's loading page with a little spinner?
Oh, I don't know if you been following the Webflow news, but like going back to that micro interaction where he imported that popping effect with bubbles or whatever. That'll be easier to do when we get Lottie into Webflow.
Oh, you bring in Lottie?
Yeah, so you can bring in a Lottie file and add a Webflow interaction to it, like based on click, hover.
This rollover interaction is actually changing. Each click, them bubbles are different.
Yeah, all the bubbles are different.
Different each time you click it.
Yeah, so this one is definitely JavaScript, but I think an easier way but it would be the same bubbles every time would be like with Lottie files, but like, man, that would be cool.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going on to their company page and yeah, it's nice. Yeah, I got great job. I really got nothing right now.
For me, all I would say is hierarchy on typography. There feels a little bit of, you know, see like this. There's some. I feel like there just needs to be a bit more hierarchy. It feels like they're very close from a title to a not title, and then also I'm looking at some of the white space. I feel like the white space may be a little bit too sparse. So I think that's where if you brought that font size up a little bit, you know, you might be able to we've gained some of that and make sure that it kind of. I feel like them titles could be a little bit more prouder. You know, they don't need to be so like at the moment. They feel like they're not shouting enough. So I think you could probably do that, and then potentially maybe look at I think just potentially look at the hierarchy of the fonts. And not to be too scared with that title. And so you've got a clear difference between title, subtitles, and text, body text, and then would be like your white space, just to kind of fill it out a little bit. But it's nice. I really like it. I think there's some nice elements to this for sure.
So you're saying the blue titles should be bigger?
Not the blue title. So you have another title. So say for instance on that company page, I mean you could make so on the company page you've got notification relate to your general activity of the app, and currently that's quite small for me.
Oh, okay.
No, that's like at the moment it's 16. I think you could pump that up a little bit. You know,
right now.
Give it like
actually,
a little bit bigger.
You see the glossary text is at 14 right now because it's the body. You're saying
I think it's at like 16 or something.
It's at 14, so maybe do something like 18.
Well, I made it a lot bigger. I made them titles like 30 pixels.
I'm guessing you're talking about the headings.
No, not that one. Go down, further down.
What's the text say? What does the text say?
Yeah, the text says the bit that I was on. No notification relate to your birthday and wishes or gifts.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So that's for me. Like them kind of titles there, I feel like you could make them bigger, and then it would just be about spacing them the bullet points below a bit further down. Just kind of filling that space out a bit.
I get you. I'm doing it in the inspector right now.
The hierarchy is not clear there for me.
Yeah.
And again,
something like that makes sense.
Yeah, they're only very small. These are only small things, but these are things that you can start to build and learn as you start to put sites together and really get that consistency going. So, yeah, I think for me that's it. And there's some nice. I love the little animations that they've done on the phones. Again, you could probably bring in some interactions in here to bring a little bit more life to the page. But at the moment, it's a good effort. It's definitely going in the right direction. There's some really nice things going on here. I like the side navigation as well. I think that's pretty cool. I think you've done something really nice there. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Well, great job, Eli. All right, last one. Marius. Let me paste it here. All right, leadertribe.com. All right. Developing leaders daily, but never in a day. Okay. Very liking it so far. As I scroll down. Okay. So it's a podcast, latest blog post. Finally stopped. So I feel like you have serif right here for the latest podcast title, and then your cards, I feel like they should have serif. Well, I'm not the best with type, so I'm gonna leave it to Joseph when he looks at it. But yeah, I feel like the cards for the blog post need some sort of serif. The quotes have serif. But other than that, I like it.
Yeah, no, again, I know I keep saying it, but it really goes back to these points, and it's really crucial that you look at them. But yeah, again, just like little typography things. Again, I think, you could potentially bring in that serif font in there into them cards. Maybe the size might be a tiny bit big, but again, that's me just being micro picky. That's kind of the scrutiny that I get working in agencies. When you're working with big clients, you've always got like everything is to the level that you wouldn't believe. So, these are little things to look at. I mean, you could probably put a bit more spacing in there. I think if you brought the size of the text down, that would help. And then you could space them out. It kind of feels a little bit tight to the top and left of that card. I think you can play around with that spacing a little bit more, give it more breadth. I think apart from that, I think there's some really nice elements. Again, like there's some real nice fundamentals here. Yeah, I like it. Again, just spacing things. It's spacing, typography. A lot of what I've seen is really just spacing and typography. And to be honest with you, they're the things that kind of really do take quite a while to get your head around, to really perfect and get right. But yeah, I'm liking it. It's definitely good. It's definitely good.
Great.
Only thing that I'd say on the about page, we have quite a bit of text on the banner. Now, I'm slightly concerned that legibility might be thrown up here, especially when you get down to real questions that deserve real answers. It's bordering line on not being readable. Standard practice for imagery and text, probably put an overlay on it. So put a black overlay of like opacity of like, I don't know, 50%. If not, I would shorten down the copy that sits on that. Would be one. Again, just the positioning of it. That copy feels very tight to the bottom of that banner. Again, just basic things. That is sealing the deal for me. The banner below on the about us, again, it's nice in the middle. It's nice in the middle, but legibility, you're going to have issues. The only things, but think it's looking good. There's definitely some good elements here. Again, down to them spacing and typography. Color palette's good. I like it. Fresh. Imagery's nice. Yeah, you're on to a winner.
I'm sorry right now. I can't hear you because like my headphones like. Hello? Okay, now I can hear you. Okay. Yeah. I didn't hear but everyone else heard, but for some reason my headset like it malfunctioned or something. But it was probably all good tips.
Yep.
But let me put it back on my browser real quick. Where are you? There you go. Yeah. So who did that? I want to give shout out to Marius. Great job with it. But yeah, I agree with what I've heard. Joseph said your type, it needs to be in some sort of box with some sort of slight background opacity lowered down. But other than that, great job. But that's about it for this podcast. I saw a podcast on this site, so that's why I said it. But that's about it for this stream. Thank you, Joseph. Thank you so much for being on the stream and showing us how you did the disruptive. Yeah, thank you so much. Where can people find more info about you, or can they follow you on social media if you're on it?
Yes, social media. So Facebook, I think is. Let me just check. It is, if you want to follow me on Facebook, I am at JB Graphics UK, and on LinkedIn. So you can get me on LinkedIn and just type my name in, Joseph Berry. You'll probably see Senior Digital Designer at Digitas. I don't really use too many other platforms. I use Instagram for something else, so I don't really share too much. I am on Behance. Again, I'm only sharing a few little things on there. For me now, it's really about kind of pushing myself more out into the public domain. So I will be trying to get myself out a little bit more. And I've absolutely loved this. I've really enjoyed it. I hope everyone has kind of learned some valuable things, and hopefully you'll hear my droney voice again sometime.
Yes, that would be awesome to get you back on the stream and teach us cool new things that you've learned. Thank you.
I'll definitely keep in touch with you, and maybe I'll just fire some things over to you. And if you're like, that would be really cool to show, then I am definitely up for doing this again and becoming part of the Webflow family.
Yeah,
for sure.
Thank you so much for sharing with the community. And like whenever you get more tutorials up or get some projects or interactions that you want to share with the community, please post on the forums, and I would love to share that with everyone in the community. So thank you so much. And now I need to end this stream, so let's go through our ending. So again, that was Joseph. Check him out. Find him on LinkedIn. Find him on Behance, on the Facebooks and all that stuff. He's on our new Facebook group, so you can catch him there. He's posting there more often. Besides that, if you have any account, billing, or technical questions or issues, please go to university.webflow.com. webflow.com/contact, and the support team will help you out as fast as they can. If you have any design or custom code questions, or you have a cool trick that you want to show the community, go to forum.webflow.com and join that global community. It's always fun to share and answer questions. And you know what? If someone answers your question, please pass that favor forward and answer someone else's question so we can all grow together. So social media, we're on facebook.com/webflow, twitter.com/webflow. You can follow me on Twitter at thepixelgeek, instagram.com/webflow-app. If this is your first time being on the stream, thank you so much for being in the live chat. If you're watching a recording, hey, thanks for watching it. If you haven't subscribed yet to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/webflow, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and you'll know when we go live every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific. I will see everyone next week. I'll just post on my own Twitter account what we're going to be doing next week. Once I get the topic all settled and all that stuff. But hey, thank you all so much. And as always, make the web beautiful. See ya.